I don't care about the Steam Machine, but you should. The Steam Machine is gonna be the be-all and end-all of gaming consoles? Really? At this price point? Look, now these are just leaks, and obviously we don't know if this will be the actual price, but I have reason to believe it's going to be way more expensive than consoles are. And there's two possible explanations for the title of this video. It's either I'm just poor, or maybe I just have common sense. We'll see which one it is. Let's get into it. So, first of all, what is the Steam Machine? How is it any different from a regular PC? To explain that, I need everyone to understand that consoles typically have two main advantages over PCs. They also have disadvantages, but the reason people buy them is typically because they're cheaper and they're more convenient to use. Also, I mean, there is brand power. When the average person hears Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox, they know, oh, okay, this is a machine that plays games. But main advantages are price and convenience. Consoles typically offer significantly more power per dollar. What that means is if you spent the same amount on a console and a PC, chances are the console is probably going to be significantly more powerful. The PS5 is $500 US. You buy a PC for $500 US. Jesus Christ, you're not going to want a game on that. But to be fair, PCs are entire functioning computers that can do a whole host of things. So I guess I get why they are more expensive, but it's just, I'm looking at this from a strictly gaming perspective, especially if you already have a laptop or a computer and you don't need an actual computer, you just want to play games. Consoles are usually better value for your money when it comes to the amount of power you're getting. Consoles are typically able to stay cheaper than PCs because a lot of these companies subsidize the cost of the consoles for you. Take Sony for example, they sell you a PS5 for $500. It might not be making a lot of profit off of that. It might cost them almost $500 to make the console. Keyword here, might. I don't know how much exactly. But these gaming companies know they will make back a lot of the money from the game sales, as well as things like subscription services. I mean, the original Xbox was noticeably sold at a loss from Microsoft, meaning they were selling each console cheaper than they were spending to make each console. That's freaking crazy, but it's Microsoft. They were trying to build a name in the gaming industry for the future, and it worked. At least up until the 360. After that, I don't know what the fuck was going on at Xbox, but that's not a topic for today. So you get the gist, consoles are cheaper when it comes to value for gaming. The other advantage consoles have, they're pretty convenient to get into and to use. Like, Jesus Christ, I remember the one time I sold my PS5 at the time to get a gaming PC, and man did I sell that thing after less than a week to buy a new PS5. It was a horrible experience. Like, look, as someone who's played consoles all my life, it was not an easy transition to make. First of all, I turned on the laptop. It boots into Windows, which Windows takes way longer to boot than, I don't know, a gaming system's OS. And then you open Windows and you have to open whatever game launcher you're using. Mine was the Xbox game launcher. That takes a while to load. Sometimes it may crash. Sometimes you click a game, it doesn't start. It's pretty easy to tell that Windows isn't primarily made with gaming in mind. It's not as quick to get into the games. It's not as reliable. It can randomly crash. You can get hit with random updates, or like you have to update your drivers. There's a lot that can go wrong with gaming on Windows. I guess a lot of PC gamers probably are used to it, but everyone can tell you it's not as smooth, consistent, or easy to get into to just pick up and play. It really discourages me from even wanting to play games at all, having to go through all that. So naturally, the Steam Machine appeals more to console players than most PCs do, because like the Steam Deck before it, it has most of the convenience from consoles. And I say most because I guess SteamOS isn't quite as smooth and convenient as, say, like the PlayStation UI or the Nintendo one, but it is almost there, to the point where it mostly feels more like a console than a PC. So you're getting that console pick up and play convenience. You know, it's faster to wake up and get into. No Windows booting up or hours of update on the initial setup. No game launches, rarely any crashes. The UI is made for gaming. The controller works with all parts of the UI. That's what made people love the Steam Deck. PC library without dealing with Windows like most other PC handhelds. I hate Windows for gaming. Okay, it's a preference thing. Like, a lot of PC gamers don't care, but most probably the average person walking down the street is gonna prefer to play on a console. Now, how does the Steam Machine supersede both consoles and PCs? In theory. That's really important, the theory part. Stay with me. As I said, it is more convenient than PC, but with the PC game library. So for people who like the wider library of the PC, Steam Frame offers that, as well as the convenience of a console. When it comes to the bigger library, I will say this, even though the Steam library technically is larger than, say, the PlayStation library, honestly, I don't think that's significant, at least for most people. Like, sure, if you like strategy games or smaller indie games that aren't on consoles, then your Steam library is going to be able to get all of those. But I think 99% of games that most people would want to play, you can also get on consoles. But for some reason, like, there's some specific games that some people like on Steam that you can't get on consoles. So hey, if you like that and you want a more convenient way to play them, then I guess that's the Steam Frame. Also, older games, older generation games that may not be available to buy on current gen consoles can be found on Steam, you know, stuff like Sonic Racing All-Stars Transformed or like Sonic Unleashed. Okay, I guess that is one good advantage, I'll be honest. You can get older games easily on Steam. So yeah, if you want that, there you go. You know, another way it supersedes consoles apart from the bigger library is free online, which is pretty significant because you look at PS5, for example. The base price for PS Plus Essential is $80 a year. Over a couple of years, that's going to add up to a significant amount. But there is one big caveat. When compared to PCs and consoles, you can't play some games that use anti-cheat like Battlefield or FIFA.
From the editing room, I just realized you also can't play Fortnite, which is kind of crazy, as well as other games like Apex Legends or Valorant. You know, those are some pretty popular games.
Now, I think you may be able to install Windows on Steam devices, I'm not too sure, but if so, you'll lose some of that seamlessness and straightforwardness. So, even with said caveat, it seems like the best of both worlds, right? But I lied. There is one more caveat, especially when compared to consoles, which is obviously the market that Steam are trying to eat into here by offering quote-unquote console-level convenience alongside the Steam library and free online play that you get with PCs. And that caveat is price. A lot of people were excited at the announcement thinking we'd be getting all these advantages at console-level pricing, but as it turns out with most things in life, that's just too good to be true. The first time someone asked Valve about this, whether it's going to be priced like a console, no, they said it will be priced competitively as a PC. Basically, it's going to be similar in price to a PC that you can get for around the same level of power. Now, obviously, I haven't used a Steam machine before, but from what I've seen online, it seems like it's generally comparable to a Series S in terms of power, which is pretty impressive. It's good enough, I'm not complaining. But then when you consider the potential price of this thing, it started to think twice. About a month ago, Linus Tech Tips, who is amazing by the way, released this video calculating the expected price of the Steam machine, and he was so confident, he seemed pretty sure that he wouldn't be more than $60 off with his prediction. He predicted $700 to $750 US, which a digital PS5 is now $500, it used to be $400, but with things like tariffs and RAM getting more expensive, they upped the price by $100. Now the thing is, the PS5 digital is 1 terabyte, which is twice the storage of the base Steam machine. The Steam machine is also estimated to be a Series S level machine, which is $400, used to be $300, but due to tariffs, now also raised the price. Also, I'm using the digital PS5, not the disc edition, because the Steam machine is an all digital console, so it's not fair to compare it to the disc PS5. Now you might be thinking $700 to $750, that's not the worst thing in the world, but then there's more cause for concern. Recent leaks from apparently what is one of Czech Republic's biggest retailers suggest the price over there directly converts to $950 US for the 512 gigabyte model and $1,070 for the 2 terabyte model. Now obviously those aren't going to be the exact prices in the US because that's just not how price localization works. Like, they're not just going to use Czech Republic as the base and convert it to USD. It's going to be priced differently in the US. I mean, if this is correct, obviously take it with a big grain of salt, that would mean the US price probably wouldn't be far off. You know, I'd say if they're saying $950 USD in Czech Republic, which again, if it's correct, I would guess the US version probably wouldn't be anything lower than $850. If it is $850 US dollars, that's $100 even more than Linus predicted, which that's 70% more expensive than the PS5. Now, speaking of price, I just want to add one thing. When people talk about how games are cheaper on Steam, I don't think that's really true. Like, okay, correct me if I'm wrong. In my experience, yes, I will agree that Steam does frequent sales. There's a sale every other day. But in my experience, most of the sales are usually just like older games that came out maybe during like the 7th or 8th generation, or like these like smaller indie games, which, like, hey, a sale is a sale. People still love those games. But people usually make it sound like current games that you'd want to play, like games that released within the past few years, are typically cheaper on Steam than, say, on PlayStation. I'm using PS5 because in my head, it's the console that directly compares to the Steam machine the most. you know, I mean, there is the Xbox Series S, but Xbox is a dying company. I wouldn't ask my worst enemy to go buy an Xbox right now. I don't think there's going to be a next Xbox. Xbox are going to be the next Sega. But, you know, I think like if you're buying a console to play games that released within the past few years, like typically when they go on sale on Steam, they usually seem to be like general sales. Like they also go on sale on PlayStation. Like sure, if you're getting like way older games or like smaller indie titles, I think you can find them on sale more frequently and maybe for better prices on Steam. But for games that released within the past few years, like current gen games, I don't think you're really gonna get them any cheaper on Steam. At least according to what I've seen. Hey, I could be wrong here. Except you're comparing it to a Nintendo Switch, of course. Now, Switch games, when it comes to like first party Nintendo, the prices are atrocious, obviously. But hey, I will say where the Steam machine definitely hits back is when it comes to saving you the cost of online games. At first, it might not seem that expensive, but Jesus Christ, you have to pay at least $80 to play online for the PS5 every year. Thing is, 2 years down the line, that's when $60. 4 years down the line is $320. Say you want to use that thing for like 6 years, mama, you're looking at about $480, which at that point, plus the base price of the console, that's $980. This is assuming you use your console for like 6 years. $980 for the PS5 plus 6 years of PS Plus. Now the Steam machine, if you use it for 6 years, all you gotta pay, let's say it is around like $850 or $900. You do pay that. You know, they're not far off in price. They're pretty much almost the same price at that point. But the thing is, the PlayStation 5 technically still is the more powerful console and offers more storage. So I guess no matter how you look at it, if the recent leaks are anything to be believed, it looks like the Steam machine is still quite a bit more expensive than the PS5 when it comes to value. But if you do value that super vast library of Steam, you are getting that on the Steam machine. And I guess if you already have an existing large Steam library, hey, this is a more convenient way to play them than on your PC due to having Steam OS. And as Valve says, the Steam machine is more powerful than 70% of PCs that play on Steam. So I guess for a lot of people that do have Steam libraries, this is going to be an upgrade in terms of hardware. If you already have a super powerful PC, I don't get why you'd buy a Steam machine. So it's like, for me personally, I have no desire to purchase this thing. I have a PS5 already, which is more expensive, and I think for people that have a PS5, this thing doesn't offer any real value. Now, for people that don't have a console at all and want to get a console, should they get a PS5 or a Steam machine? That's where it gets interesting. As the title suggests, I personally don't care about this thing because I have a PS5, but if you don't have a PS5 or a console at all, I think it is an interesting conundrum. If you factor in the long-term price you have to pay for online gaming, they are priced not too far away from each other if the leaks are anything to be believed. I'd say the Steam machine is still looking to be a bit more expensive in the long run and will offer you less storage and less graphical power. But I guess it does offer a wider library. In my opinion, I still do think the PS5 is the better purchase, just because I would take the extra power and storage over having access to a bit more games, as I don't think those games are particularly significant, and at the same time not being able to play games like FIFA, Fortnite, or Apex Legends at all. But hey man, people have different needs. Some people may already have a Steam Deck or a PC, maybe want to upgrade to a more powerful PC, and maybe for them that's the Steam machine. I can't necessarily say the PS5 is a better deal because there is no official price for the Steam machine yet, but I can't say I have no interest in it at all, just because the PS5 already satisfies my needs when it comes to, you know, AAA gaming. But for people who are thinking of getting a gaming device soon, definitely watch this space and see what happens with the pricing. Hey, those are just my thoughts. As usual, rambling. I'm really tired now. I don't think I can edit this video today. I'll do it tomorrow and post it tomorrow. Jesus Christ, I have a lot to do. Bye-bye.